Welcome to Dunitas K9, where we are helping you integrate your dog into your life, no matter what your life is like.
Hello folks, this is Joel with Dunitas K9 coming to you today from the Alaska Highway 2, traveling between Delta Junction and Fairbanks once again. And last week we talked to you guys a little bit about why ideas have consequences and what that really means for you. Today I'd like to build on that concept a little bit by discussing some of the underlying principles that we believe apply to dog training. And we call them the 12 pillars of dog training. Now, what are the 12 pillars of dog training and why are they important? Well, first of all, the 12 pillars of dog training are built upon what I believe is a biblical worldview as applied to training dogs. And as a Christian, I believe that we should have a biblical worldview and that we should apply that biblical worldview to all the areas of our life. And as we discussed last week, I believe that your philosophy and your worldview and the way that you believe is going to naturally affect every area of your life. And we want our philosophy and our worldview to be in sync, to be consistent, and to be coherent. And so if you're a Christian and you have a Christian worldview, and you're interested in dog training, then you're going to want to apply that worldview to your dog training. Now, if you're not a Christian, I believe that this will still apply to your dog training, primarily because I think it's the very best way to train dogs. And you can evaluate us based on your understanding and your beliefs, but I think if you come train with us, you'll see that hands down, the philosophy used at Baden K9 and Dunitas K9 is one that produces results far better than any of the other training methods out there. So let's go ahead and get into what the 12 pillars of dog training are individually. First of all, pillar number one is that you must develop consistency. Now, we talked about that a little bit last week, but it's extremely important for you to be consistent in the way that you train your dog. If you're very inconsistent, if you come in one day and you kick your dog when you walk in the door and you're yelling at him, and the next day you come in and you're going to want to pet on him and scratch him behind his ears, your dog is going to have this very sporadic reaction to you every time you come in the door. It's not going to be a very consistent reaction. And since we want consistency out of our dogs, we need to give our dogs consistency out of ourselves. This also is going to apply to the way and the fashion in which you give correction, in which you give affirmation, in which you discipline your dog, the way that you feed your dog. All of these areas are very important areas to apply consistency in. So the first pillar of dog training is you must develop consistency. The second area of dog training, and one of the most critical when it comes to the nuts and bolts of training, is one direction, one correction. Now, if you apply this all the time, then of course you'll be consistent in your correction. But it's important for us to understand that if we want obedience from our dogs, we give them one direction, one command, and we expect it to be obeyed, essentially immediately. And I don't mean like robotically, like they have to instantly fall into the position, but we want them to obey cheerfully and obediently, and we want it to be, in a very timely fashion. And so we give our command, we give our direction, and if it's not obeyed, we give our correction. And then we give our command again, but we don't continue to give our command over and over and over again without any correction. We don't inconsistently give verbal and physical correction. We always couple the two together. So one direction, one correction, extremely important principle. The third principle is discipline. In order to be consistent and in order to apply things in a foundational way where you can lay a strong foundation for your dog, you yourself must be disciplined. Most dog owners, most people who are interested in training their dogs are interested in doing so because they want dogs that are disciplined. But an undisciplined person cannot have a disciplined dog. An inconsistent person is not going to have a consistent dog. So if you want discipline in your dog, you have to be disciplined yourself. Pillar number 4 is that we need to apply realistic stress to our training. Now, we don't necessarily start with a full realistic stress with our dogs. You don't want to train a protection dog and start your dog off as a puppy and throw him into a room with gunfire and people are punching him and kicking him around and these sorts of things that you want to build up to with a full-grown mature dog that can take this kind of physical interaction and is giving out as much as they're taking. With a puppy, you obviously start them off at lower levels, but if your idea is to build a protection dog and you never develop those realistic, stressful situations in which your dog is functioning, you're not going to have a reliable dog. So we highly encourage you to have realistic stress in your training. Now, pillar number 5 is you must master yourself. Now, of course, if you're consistent, then that's an aspect of mastering yourself. If you're disciplined, that's an aspect of mastering yourself. And we believe that those two aspects are the most important aspects in terms of your dog training. But you really need to master yourself in every area of your life. You need to not only be aware of what you believe and why, you need to act consistently, you need to be in control of yourself, and you need to take responsibility for everything that it is that you do. And these are aspects of mastering yourself. And in order to master your dog, you must first be able to master yourself. And a lot of people, don't like this philosophy because it requires a lot out of them personally. But let's be honest, everything in life that's worth doing requires a lot of us personally. And if you believe that it's worth investing in your dog, and you believe that it's worth developing a lifestyle where your dog is integrated, then it's going to be worth doing these things for yourself too. And trust me, you're not only going to benefit in the realm of dog training, but you're going to benefit in every other aspect of your life as well. Now, pillar number 6 is that you are responsible. Not that you should be, not that you might be, but you are, whether you like it or not. If you have a dog and your dog bites somebody else, you're responsible for that. If you have a dog and they get in a fight with somebody else's dog, you're responsible for that. If your dog bites your children, or if your dog is disobedient and causes damage in your house, you're responsible for that. And it's important for us to understand and embrace this responsibility so that we can take more ownership of the training that we're doing with our dog. So it's a key thing for us to understand that we are responsible for everything that our dog does or fails to do. Now, pillar number 7 is that dogs are not humans. Now, a lot of people will say this, and sometimes, you'll get a humorous chuckle when you say something like that. But in reality, very many of the dog training philosophies that are out there right now are based on the principle that either humans should act like dogs or dogs should act like humans. We reject that philosophy. We do not believe that dogs are humans. We do not believe they should be treated like humans. In fact, we believe that it's dishonoring to the dog to treat them like a human, that a dog should be treated like a dog, and that being a dog is honorable if you're a dog. Now, the 8th pillar of dog training is that humans are not dogs. We're not a member of a dog pack, and this is the prevailing philosophy in dog training right now, is that a human is somehow a member of a dog pack. Dogs don't look at humans and think that we're dogs. We don't walk like dogs, we don't act like dogs. When you watch a dog interact with other dogs, they interact differently with them than they interact with human beings. Now, dogs are pack animals, and dogs act a specific way in a pack. But to try and take that and apply it wholesale to a human-dog interaction is simply a flawed way of thinking. Dogs understand that humans are humans, and dogs are the only animal that truly bonds to a human. It's the only animal you can send to its own kind and then call it back out again, and it will come to you without bribe, without treats, without any kind of reward other than being able to be reunited with you and to be standing at your side. So dogs are not humans, and humans are not dogs. Now, pillar number 9 is that dogs, as is every other aspect of our creation, is affected by the fall of man. So they're not perfect. Humans aren't perfect. Dogs aren't perfect. Animals and everything else have been affected by the sin of man. And therefore, we need to be understanding of that. We need to be working with it. We don't completely accept it in the sense that we just allow them to do whatever it is they're going to do, and we don't indulge their selfish desires. But what we do is we go forward in our training with an understanding that we're not going to have perfection instantly, and we're never really going to have perfection in terms of the long haul. There's always going to be a training process going on. Our dogs should develop discipline and consistency, but if we're expecting perfection, then we need to go out and buy a robot dog, because that's the only way you're going to get it. Dogs are affected by our sinfulness and our fall, and all of our faults come out through the dogs, and so we need to have that understanding, and we need to be patient with our dogs as we're training because of that. Now, pillar number 10 is we should regard the life of our dog. What that means is that we should treat our dogs humanely. We shouldn't beat them. We shouldn't, discipline them to such a degree that they become fearful of us all the time. But we should discipline them to the degree that they understand that we're the master, they're the dog, they need to obey our commands, and then we need to take care of them and feed them and house them properly. So we should regard the life of our dog. Now, pillar number 11 is that you should integrate your dog into everything that you do to the greatest extent possible. And we talked about this in the first video, so I won't belabor the point, but it's important for us to integrate our dogs. And then the final pillar, pillar number 12, is that anything you as a person can do, whether you are just your average person going to work, whether you're a soldier, whether you're a law enforcement officer, whether you're a search and rescue person, everything that you do, you can do with your dog. And we at DK-9 and also our trainers up at DK-9 understand this philosophy that everything that you can do with a dog, and we develop our training around that mentality. If you want to learn more, come and train with us up at Dunatas K9, or if you're in the Northeast, we highly encourage you to visit Baden K9. So until next time, this has been Joel with Dunatas K9, helping to sharpen your world one dog at a time.